Hey, everybody, and welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. It's an off day for the Brewers. They got the LA Dodgers coming in town. So I figured it is finally time to catch up with my former tag team partner. We did a morning show on WSSP, a successful one. I had Mike Wickett on a couple of weeks ago, and he was great. And when he left after our great run, Bart Winkler joined me, and we continued the run. So he's going to join us next. We have not talked and done a show together since 2020, since during COVID, some of us lost their jobs, and then one of them was me. So we'll talk about the Milwaukee Brewers, get his take on a few things like that. All that and more coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Monday without the Milwaukee Brewers is just, there are going to be more off days in September and August and all that. But, I like when they play every day. I do. They're out on the West Coast for a first of a 3-game set against the LA Dodgers beginning on Tuesday night, 9:10 with the broadcast on Sirius XM. You search Brewers and you'll get all 162 of Brewer baseball. My name is Chuck Freeman, first-year host of Locked On Brewers, longtime sports talk show host in the Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin, sports director at KFIZ Radio, AP sportscaster as well, and reporter. Been covering the Brewers for a long, long time. And, my passion for the Milwaukee Brewers is great. And my partner, who we did the show for several years on WSSP, and I know his passion for the Milwaukee Brewers is great. And I'm doing this on the fly, and I hope we have Bart here. Bart, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Why aren't we doing like a little pleasantry beforehand? I jump in, you're like already recording.
Well, I sent you a text.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that we were like going live.
Yeah, I sent you I said, well, we're live. We're not live. We're live taping.
I know, but normally I send people like a DM and then like they come and then we like, oh, how are you? And, we didn't do any of that.
Oh, well, we've been doing it on text for the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. What's up?
Well, people have been asking for this, and we're talking strictly Brewers. I'll be on your podcast as well, and we'll get into other things on that. But the Bart Winkler show.
Are you gonna? I still am like 5% thinking you're gonna dog me.
No, I won't do that. I'm not you. I'm not gonna ditch you.
Okay,
see, that's what I had to do at first, because you would go ahead and put it out on social and all that, and I'd be trying to track you down, go into your house, and you would like move to Indiana.
No, Freems. Our greatest problem is that we don't trust ourselves that we trust each other.
And we don't trust anybody else because, you and I are, look, we're in the podcast world these days.
Well, that's what's happening.
That's where the world is. That's where people are coming to.
Yeah.
That's the only people we can trust.
I couldn't be happier to be here.
It is. The Milwaukee Brewers. How much are you into this team? And I know, and I said this before. Here's my introduction to you. I said, I have a great passion for our sports teams in the Milwaukee Brewers. And my next guest is another guy who enjoys that same passion. I think I'm accurate in that, don't you think?
Yeah, I think what was hard for me, and you're still at games, right? You're still covering the team.
Yeah. AP.
If you ever lose that, you are gonna go through it, man. Because I went to opening day, so I we get credentials, and I've done the media stuff, and you and I got to be on the field for the 2018 ride with the game 163 and all that stuff. But then when you don't have access to that world and you're a fan only, and you can't like just hop on the elevator and go downstairs, like that part was hard for me. But also when I'm not there every day and not doing a 4-hour show on it every day, I'm not as I didn't feel like I was as connected. I thought, well, I'm not as good enough as a fan because I'm missing like this White Sox series.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see a single pitch. I followed along, but I was working Friday night and Packers were on. And then Saturday I was in Madison for a thing I do. And then Sunday I had another shift. So I was working and I had the football on because we're doing national stuff. So I'm talking football and I didn't see, but I'm like following. But at the beginning of the year, when that stuff happened, I felt, do I not love this team as much? Am I not a fan as much? I still am. It's just when you are covering that, like I don't know the entire 40-man roster memorized right now. And that bothers me, but I don't think anybody does unless they're totally into it or covering it every day. So
I get you on my 30-minute podcast to talk Brewers, and you didn't watch one pitch last weekend.
But like true,
fantastic.
Like true,
you're not BSing your way through.
No, well, like true radio professionals, you can ask me anything about the weekend. I could tell you.
You know, you didn't work for CBS. You can still get into the games as far as credentialed, couldn't you?
I think I could.
I mean, you're on a national network.
I know. I think I could. I don't know that. I think the Brewers and I need some space between each other.
You know, there's a couple of times this year, you know, and I watched a ton of the games, obviously, and you do too. You do watch a lot of the games, and I know that. But do you ever watch? I'm
not going to watch much of this Dodgers series.
Well, we don't have to get up early anymore, so
that's true.
Do you sometimes watch this team and like, oh God? I mean, this team, it's not, and I'm not burying them here, but they're not the most exciting team to watch sometimes. Let's face it.
No, they've got a problem. It's the same problems they've always had. They put guys on base and they just sit there. Like, you would think that a team that it's always like it's a 3-2 game or it's a 6-5 game. You would think these games would be a little more exciting, but somehow they're not. To like truly answer the other question that you had, I'm into this team, and I think I'm very. There's a part of me that thinks they might pull something off this year.
You mean make a deep run?
Well, so last year was bites of the apple, right? That's what Stearns said after he traded Hader.
Yeah.
Which was the absolute wrong time to ever use that phrase. I understand the phrase.
I thought that was 2018. We went through this already.
Right. But I understand the phrase, and I understand like the philosophy, but you don't do that when you trade your closer and then end up in this situation. Mm-hmm. Now, this year, this is as bites of the apple as it gets. This is a bites of the apple team. This is a team with their pitching that can sneak in and have a crazy first round series and win. Suddenly you're going to Atlanta, you win the first game. Oh my God. And the offense, if it clicks, if the young guys, you know, they're young enough and don't know enough to not know how big the moment should be. That phrase is perfect for this team. So whenever I talk about baseball on like CBS, and if I have a 4-hour show, I'll do one segment to kill time where I just read the standings and give some thought.
Get to the commercial break.
Yeah. But it's hard to like, even though the Braves are great, and let's say the Orioles or Rays, or how do you say, well, this is my surefire lock for the World Series? You can't do that in baseball as much as you can in basketball and football. So if there was a time for bites of the apple to work, it would be a team that has found its way to win close games, that has incredible pitching, you know, and Freddie coming on like this has been great. And then they got to figure out the timely hits part, and maybe they're working towards that. But we're in August. All you need is like a hot 5 weeks. There's this team. I don't know that they do, but I get the theory when they have a team like this. The team they had last year, they traded their closer in first place. That is stupid. That's always going to be stupid. But This is different. This feels like a bites of the apple type year.
Well, you look at the batting averages and the run production, it's just brutal. And that's what prevents me. Now the front three, actually the front four in that starting rotation. I'm going to throw Miley in that. And then the bullpen I think is great. I love Piamps, love Devin Williams, Uribe coming out of the bullpen. But would it be dumb to say that even if they finish in first place, they need like an overhaul in a few different areas, like offensively for sure?
I don't know.
See, I think some guys in this team, like Brian Anderson, nah.
Oh, we got to stop doing that. Like that needs. It's every year. It's that.
Yeah.
It's Brian Anderson this year. It's Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah.
It's even going back to like Corey Koski. It's just finding these guys that are okay. Nobody else wants them. Let's bring them in for a year. Andrew McCutcheon was the same way. We got Mike Cameron. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. No, but that's the way it's always going to be. And the Brewers aren't going to make that blockbuster deal unless they're trading one of their guys, unless they're trading one of their players. But, there's a couple of guys. I mean, yeah, there's a few guys in this team you could build around, but there's a few guys, I don't think Adames is going to, he's not long for Milwaukee, although he's playing himself into a low contract. The third base spot, first base has got to be answered. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when Tellez comes back, I'm good with just riding out Santana the rest of the year, and Tellez can live for another day.
Well, right, and we're talking about if this team has a deep run in them. I said the pitching, and I said the pitching again, and then I said like timely hits. I'm not talking about like this isn't an offensive juggernaut. Like we all love Contreras.
Yeah.
First base has been a mess since 2011. Second base, these young kids with Terang and all that's all great. I think Adames stinks.
I don't know what's happening to him. I mean, I didn't think he stunk until this year. Is he just having a throwaway year? Because he's not this bad.
I don't know. Remember like he struggled in Tampa and then everyone's like, oh, he just couldn't see down there. And we're like, oh, okay, we believe it. That makes sense.
We came here with the world on fire.
Well, we all like Adames. The problem I always had with Adames was there's nobody else to like. Like if you're gonna buy a Brewers jersey, not now. Now there's Weimer and you might get Mitchell. Like now there's young guys, Contreras. So now they're richer, these kind of guys, to answer the question. But if you were gonna buy a Brewers jersey at the beginning of last year, who would you buy? Like you don't know that Burns and Woodruff would be here long term. Yelich was bad, and everybody was buying Adames because he was like fun, and maybe he'll be here a while. But then
Tellez too.
I don't know.
I mean, he's got his bobblehead night coming up here in a little bit. He might not even be on the team.
Tellez?
Yeah, Tellez has got his bobblehead night coming up. The
rowdy. Chuck, you've followed this team for 40 years. How many rowdy Tellezes have we had?
Oh, I know. That's why I'm done with him too.
Rowdy Tellez is Chris Carter. Is he's
the Chris Carter, the football player?
No, the one that hit 40 home runs here in 15 and then disappeared. Remember that guy? You forget Chris Carter?
Oh, Chris Carter. That's right. Was it 40 home runs he hit?
It was a lot. Then he played in the Mexican League. Yep. Eric Thames, what was Eric Thames? How forgettable for his like cool
another lovable guy.
Huh?
Another lovable guy. People love Eric Thames.
But he is we totally forgot about him. How is Eric Thames that forgettable?
He had a home run in his last game here in that wild card game against Washington. And I think the next year he was on Washington, wasn't he? Or San Diego.
Yeah, how did he not latch on anywhere else?
I don't know. Bart Winkler joining us from the Bart Winkler Show. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are a team every day. Bart, hang on 1 second. I got to do a quick live read here. And this show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. FanDuel is about to kick off football season in a big way. FanDuel is giving you a chance to win all season long because right now, when you bet the Super Bowl winner, you get a bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over and unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning bonus bets. And America's #1 sports book is FanDuel. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, visit their site. Look at the money lines, the props. Look around your team. Football season is here, ready to go. In fact, the college football season starting a week from Saturday. Sign up. Get in with FanDuel.com/lockedon. and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. Brewers and Dodgers coming up on Tuesday night. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and Sirius XM, the SXM app, 9:10 with a broadcast of the Brewers and the Dodgers coming up on Sunday night. Were you swatting flies when I was reading that?
No, I moved my setup, which I was going to do before, but I jumped on and you're already mid-show.
Oh, yeah. No, that was 4 minutes in. And by the way, get the show on Google, Spotify, Apple. Get it on I download all the downloads on my Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. On YouTube, go to YouTube, hit the search button, put Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. That's going to alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. So you think a deep run is possibly in the mix? So if they make a deep run, here's the thing: if they make a deep run and also they get hot offensively, would they make changes? I mean, I'm just amazed that even at this point, I know they're in a bad division, but still how they're hanging in there so tough, and they built a 3.5 game lead.
Well, that too, but we're not even like, if you want to talk about changes, who's their manager next year?
I don't think it's Craig.
So who's it going to be?
I don't think it's going to be Pat Murphy either.
I don't think it's going to be. If Pat Murphy wanted that gig, he wouldn't be doing weekly hits with the franchise every week.
Well, he could be positioning himself for that job by getting his name out there. Isn't that what it's all about?
You know who I bet wants it really bad is Matt Erickson. Matt Erickson, the former manager of the Timber Rattlers. He always finds his way. That's my name. He always finds it in September whenever they call up people. He always finds his way to like be there. Otherwise, if they're going to stay within the organization, Rick Sweet ain't coming here, our guy.
No, he's been with the organization for, I think he was here right after he finished his playing days with the Padres, because like he's been in Colorado Springs and Vancouver. He's been like everywhere, I feel, managing this team.
Who's going to end up being in AAA longer in their career, Rick Sweet or Keston Hira?
Hey, that's another guy. I mean, you know what? They just don't want to call him up, do they?
No.
They just don't want
to.
They
like put him on waivers, and we're praying that someone would pick him up.
Just so
he's like, no, I'll come. And what's he do? Why is he coming back to Nashville? Why didn't he go somewhere else?
Well, I don't know.
Maybe he knows like he's
a AAA hitter.
That's the life he wants to ride out.
Maybe that's it. You know, I feel like every time the Brewers have a day game, I'll get home and I'll do Locked On Brewers and I'll go through Twitter, and all of a sudden, you know, you'll see people tweeting out Keston Hira hit another one. It's like he's got 65 home runs so far this year. Or either that or they just keep on looping his home runs because, I mean, he's having a heck of a year in Nashville. But, you know, and the Brewers, their reaction to him, Bart, is just like, well, yeah, we know he's doing well down here, but you know, we're good. We're good, batting a team average like 203.
It's like when I was in TV and I wanted to be in sports, but I was a news reporter. And whenever the sports guys were like all off for a weekend, it was like, okay, this is clearly my time. I am going to be the sports anchor this weekend. I'm finally going to get my shot. And then they call like the Abraham Toros of the world. They call up instead. It's like, oh, actually, this is great. This guy that just got hired 2 weeks ago as a photog, he's going to do the sports. But he calls in sick. Then what do? You know what? We're going to get 80-year-old. This guy used to do this back in the 80s. He's going to come in. It's going to be real special. And then it's like, we're just going to let the news people read it. Give me my opportunity. Keston's the same way.
Boy, some things haven't changed in the broadcast business. That still goes on in today's world in the radio and TV industry.
Yeah, people
only
like to collect prospects.
Only it's comedians this time. Chuck Freeman and Bart Winkler. Chuck and Winkler here. Of course, we're longtime co-host on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP. And yes, I'm going to be on his podcast, The Bart Winkler Show. It's a home and home series, as Bart would put it. Who don't you like on this team? I mean, Adames, but who don't you like on this team?
Everybody that I don't like is in the marketing and PR arm of this club. That's who I don't like.
The media relations department?
No, those guys are fine.
Okay. What are you talking about?
I don't like Rick Schlesinger that much. I think he's bad at his job.
What should he be doing? What don't you like?
I like $6 vouchers and Paige Sporanic night. And what are we doing?
You liked Paige Sporanic night?
Well, I fake liked it like everybody else. It's the dumbest thing ever. What are we doing?
People were walking through the turnstile that night, looking at the bobblehead, because we went that night, and they were like, "Who's this?"
Yeah.
I mean, people were grabbing them, like, "Huh?
Yeah.
A golfer? Is she on the tour? Who is she? Paige? Who?"
So how much have you talked about all the stadium nonsense?
I think they're staying after all. Yeah, we've talked about a month ago. We really got into it pretty thick.
There was an article that came out last Friday, and then everyone like picked up on it. And then if the article was, "Hey, the Brewers are thinking about this. Here's some long-term options." The further it goes into the national realm, it gets truncated and truncated. Where the headline is, "Brewers probably moving to Nashville." You know, it's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think they're staying too. I think this is like posturing from the team. You know, that's the whole like they're trying to pressure or whatever, which I guess is fine. I think the problem that I've had, this has really been a problem that I've had, like watching this A's situation. I just hate that, you know, we were doing this Brewers podcast, and I've got a young kid, and I'm trying to like take him to ball games, and there's these things that I think like I just think they belong to us. To me, moving the Brewers is like moving Lake Winnebago. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
An impossible move.
It's like this. No, Lake Winnebago belongs to Wisconsin. Yep. It's part of Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. It's ingrained in Wisconsin. Imagine if you could just buy Lake Winnebago and say, "Oh, we could be better somewhere else. We could move it." I feel like franchise, and maybe it's the Packers brainwash, but I feel like franchises belong to the city.
Well, here's what I think. Fans,
I don't like that guys can just own these things.
But I think if fans do not support a team, okay, if you're in a city where people are not coming out and there's no passion for the team, but you know, no World Series titles, as I always say, you know, the Brewers basically have not done nothing and haven't done anything in 54 years. And yet we're still packing it with 33,000 on a Saturday night against Pittsburgh. The fans have supported this team. The fans do not deserve to have this team even talking about moving. How dare they talk about even mentioning moving, because they've been so loyal to this franchise, pouring their money in, buying their stuff.
No, yeah. That is great. And that is, if we were on the air together like every day this summer, mm-hmm. That's what I think. That's what we would do. How dare you even? Because you're right. This franchise has done nothing.
Yeah.
And we support them all the time. I just realized that because I was talking about how they should retire CC Sabathia's number, and you know, kind of in jest, but also whatever. I looked at that 2008 team like, okay, and then I realized, oh my God, the way I feel about the 08 Brewers is the way these people feel about the 82 Brewers, a team that had a modicum of success, but then they never won anything. So we're celebrating these teams that like we don't even have a World Series winner to celebrate. So we celebrate a World Series loser. And then the next thing I do is celebrate a team that barely got into the playoffs and then got beat by the Phillies in 2008. And yet with all that, we are packing the ballpark. We are supporting. We are passing it down generation to generation. We're defending our club at every turn. And if the Brewers, if they end up leaving, then no fan base is safe.
No,
because there's the amount of support they get in terms of the production on the field has to be in the last 40 years as wide as a gap as any.
You could make an argument that the Bucks could have moved at one point because the attendance was not very good, and the Bucks weren't very good. Now the Brewers at least have been mediocre at best through the last 20 years. There's some bad years in there, but I mean, at least, you know, we don't see a lot of 90 loss teams. The Bucks, you could have made an argument for them if they would have went. Okay, you could have saw like a Saturday night at the old Bradley Center. There was nobody there, but Brewer games. This isn't the 80s Brewers. This is the 2023 Brewers. Were in 2017, 2014. People are still going to games, man. People love this team. Hold on, I got to do one more live read before we check out here. This show is brought to you in part by the good folks at Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link to your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop, and you're going to get cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user, about $120 a year they save. That could cover the cost of an extra shopping trip. You could use your cash back to buy the flight that you've been eyeing up, the game you're dying to go, that fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, gift cards. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too. And you can start with Ibotta by going to different places like Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and all that. But right now, Ibotta is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the promo code MLB when you register. Go to the App Store, go to Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, and use the code MLB. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use the promo code MLB. All right, just wrapping it up here with Bart Winkler.
Can you
Bart
see
Winkler
this?
Show. Let me see. I can put my glasses on.
This is my Ibotta app.
Okay.
I am in the 1K club. I have saved over $1,400 on Ibotta.
Isn't that amazing?
I love these kind of apps.
Guy down the street was just telling me the other day, who watches the podcast, told me the same thing. Not as much as you.
Oh, I got a special badge because I'm in the 1K club.
You must be getting out a lot. You, the homebody, or doing a lot of online purchases or something.
Oh, well, they got a section that's like free. And so I go there and I like, this is a good way to test products too.
Yeah. So Ibotta, one of our great sponsors here on Locked On Brewers. All right, Bart.
I've saved $1,500. I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Look, at Woodman's, I can get a free Monk Pack Keto Nut and Seed Bar.
There you go. There's a Woodman's on 45.
Yeah.
You can go and use that. Hey, so you're not the series against the Dodgers, and they got Texas this weekend. You're not too fired up about it against the two first place teams?
Well, I am fired up.
Not a measuring stick for this team, as people would say.
You know what? This is a funny time because 8 years ago is when I first entered the Milwaukee radio market. And 9 years ago. And it was 2014. And it was like my first week at WSSP. And Sparky was doing the post-game show on Saturday night. Tim was not available. So he's like, hey, Bart, you want to come in? And I was like, oh my God, this is a big chance for me. So I took a bunch of notes during the game. Never said any of them. I had friends here. I was like, friends, I got to go do this. But the reason that I remember that series so well is it was against the Dodgers. It was 2014. They had beaten, I think Jimmy Nelson beat Clayton Kershaw in the game. And we thought after that series, they were going to the World Series. And then they didn't even make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I always get this PTSD whenever the Brewers play the Dodgers at this time of the year. I think that, measuring stick, the Cubs, what did the Cubs do against the Braves? Took 2 of 3.
That's media talk I was telling you about there.
But they won 2 of 3, right? They didn't sweep them.
Well, the Brewers lost. The Brewers lost 5 of 6 to the Braves because they got swept down there, and then the Braves came here before that and took 2 of 3.
Because the Cubs played the Braves, and I'm pretty sure they won 2 of 3. But everybody was acting like this was the Cubs. The Cubs are like, look, yeah, they won 2 of 3. They're like, yeah, the Cubs are real now.
Oh, the Cubs are Braves. Okay, yeah.
The Cubs.
Right.
And so you won 2 of 3, big deal. What if the Cubs lost one? So then you win 1 of 3 and then you're nothing. This is a team that right now the Brewers are in as good of a position as they've been in all year. Then we get swept by the A's. It's like, how is the measuring? I don't know. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to win a couple. The Brewers and Dodgers, I think the last handful of years, it's always like 4-3 Dodgers. 4-3 Dodgers. They always play close. Obviously, the 2018 NLCS was 4-3 Dodgers too. So I think the Brewers might. I think Dodgers have 2 of. We have 1. Brewers might get a couple. I'm kind of curious in that Rangers series actually. Dodgers, we know what it looks like. We haven't seen the Rangers like this in a long time.
The Rangers, I've always told you, the Rangers are one of those teams that are always like flying under the radar. Nobody knows much about them. They keep changing stadiums out there, but I mean, one of the Rangers are on national TV either. Big market like that. There's kind of, the Rangers are.
The Rangers were in the World Series in 2011 against the Cardinals. That could have been us.
I know.
No one remembers that.
Yeah.
Because they got swept.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The Rangers are one of those teams that's like, oh, yeah, the Rangers. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Indiana Pacers exist.
The Indiana Pacers. Like the last 20 years, they've been non-existent.
Yeah.
All right. Bart, appreciate you coming on. I'll be jumping on your podcast as well, The Bart Winkler Show. Bart's also on CBS Sports Radio, doing great fill-in. Soon he'll probably have his own full-time gig there. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers.
Football season's coming up. They don't need me anymore. Nobody's taking off.
Yeah. Chuck Freeman, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thank you, all you everydayers out there, for joining us on Locked On Brewers. Bart Winkler, it was great having him on. We'll be talking tomorrow after the game, Brewers and Dodgers coming up on Tuesday night, 9:10 with the broadcast on Sirius and Sirius XM. Get every one of the Brewer broadcasts on Sirius and the Sirius XM app. That's going to do it for me. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. So long, everybody.